Gunshots cracked through the summer air, shattering the morning calm of Crossfire Creek. Screams erupted from the street below as townsfolk scattered for cover. Logan Hawkins drew a steady breath, his weathered finger finding the trigger of his Winchester 73. From the church bell tower, he had death in his sights. 4 men in trail-worn dusters, guns drawn outside the First National Bank. The year was 1876, barely a month after Custer's last stand at Little Bighorn. The Montana Territory was a powder keg, and these men had brought the match. Logan's scope found the leader first. The jagged scar along his left cheek pulled tight as he narrowed his eyes. He'd carried enough ghosts from the war between the states to haunt a cemetery, yet here he was again, dealing in death. Some men just needed killing. The rifle kicked against his shoulder. The first outlaw dropped without a sound, Logan's bullet finding the soft spot just below his hat brim. Blood bloomed like a crimson flower as the man crumpled. The Winchester's lever action clicked with mechanical precision. Another round chambered before the body hit the dirt. The second and third shots followed in rapid succession. One outlaw clutched his chest, eyes wide with surprise. Another's knee exploded in a spray of bone and blood. The fourth man, suddenly alone, fired wildly toward the church. Bullets splintered wood inches from Logan's head. But fear made the shooter careless. Logan's fourth shot caught him square in the throat, silencing him forever. Below, Sheriff Thornton emerged from behind a water trough, Winchester in hand, nodding toward the bell tower. The old lawman had known trouble was coming when Reed's gang rode into the territory. He'd been right to call on Logan. As the echoes faded, Logan descended the church stairs, rifle still warm against his palm. A crowd gathered around the fallen outlaws, farmers, shopkeepers, and miners staring at the dead with that peculiar mixture of horror and fascination. Their whispered praise meant nothing to him. The bounty on these men would keep his whiskey poured and his ammunition stocked for months. "Fine shooting, Hawkins," Sheriff Thornton said, clapping him on the shoulder. "Reckon you saved a dozen lives today." Logan merely nodded, eyes already scanning the horizon. Something felt wrong. Reed's gang had never hit targets this small before. The distant thunder of hooves answered his suspicion. A column of blue-uniformed cavalry approached from the east, dust billowing behind them. At their head rode Lieutenant Blackwood, back straight as a fence post, eyes cold as Montana winter. "Trouble," Logan muttered, checking his ammunition with practiced fingers. Blackwood dismounted with military precision, his polished boots landing in the dust without raising a cloud. His gaze swept over the dead outlaws before settling on Logan with undisguised contempt. "Mr. Hawkins," he said, voice clipped like his cavalry-cut mustache, "I see you've been busy." Behind Blackwood, his men dismounted, revealing a woman bound at the wrists. Her black hair hung in tangled strands around a face carved from copper. Though her buckskin dress was torn and dusty, she stood tall, chin raised, eyes burning with a fury that ropes couldn't contain. She was Lakota. The intricate beadwork on what remained of her clothing told Logan that much. In the wake of Little Bighorn, any native found outside a reservation was considered hostile, a policy Blackwood enforced with notorious enthusiasm. "Lieutenant," Logan acknowledged, offering nothing more. Blackwood gestured toward his men. "Bring her forward." 2 soldiers pushed the woman into the center of the gathering. She stumbled but caught herself, refusing to fall before these men. "This Sioux spy was captured near Reed's camp," Blackwood announced, his voice carrying across the square. "As appreciation for your service to Crossfire Creek today, Mr. Hawkins, I believe she would make a suitable reward." A cold weight settled in Logan's gut. He'd heard stories of Blackwood's generosity before, women given as property, men hung for sport. The lieutenant's reputation for cruelty toward natives was well known among scouts and trackers. "I work alone," Logan said flatly. Blackwood's thin lips curved in what might have been mistaken for a smile. Then perhaps she should hang as an enemy combatant, unless someone else would like to claim her? The crowd shifted uncomfortably. No one stepped forward. Logan studied the woman. She met his gaze without flinching, her obsidian eyes reflecting nothing but contempt. She expected no mercy from white men, especially one with a rifle still warm from killing. "I'll take her," Logan said finally, the words bitter in his mouth. "But I handle my affairs my own way." Blackwood's expression turned predatory. "Of course. Just remember, Mr. Hawkins, the army is watching. These savages can't be trusted, especially Lakota women. They'll cut your throat while you sleep." The woman was shoved toward Logan, nearly falling at his feet. He didn't offer his hand, knowing she wouldn't take it. "I'll be checking on your progress, Hawkins," Blackwood called as he mounted his horse. "Don't disappoint me." Logan waited until Blackwood and his men had ridden away, the townsfolk dispersing with them. Only when they were alone at the edge of town did he speak. "I'm going to cut you loose now," he said quietly. "If you run, he'll hunt you down. If you stay with me, I can get you somewhere safe." The woman said nothing, her gaze fixed on the distant mountains. Logan drew his hunting knife and sliced through the ropes binding her wrists. The moment her hands were free, she whirled, a small blade appearing from nowhere. The knife cut across his forearm before he could react. Logan hissed but didn't retaliate. He stepped back, hand raised. "I'm not your enemy." Blood trickled down his arm as they assessed each other. After a long moment, he slowly reached for his canteen, uncapped it, and held it out. "When did you last drink?" he asked. Suspicion flickered across her face, but thirst won out. She snatched the canteen and drank deeply, water spilling down her chin in her desperation. "My name is Logan Hawkins," he said when she'd finished. "I don't own people. You can go where you want, but Blackwood's scouts will be watching. You won't make it 10 miles alone." For the first time she spoke, her voice low and rough from disuse. Why help? The question hung between them, simple yet impossible to answer fully. Images flashed through Logan's mind. His brother dying at Gettysburg, screaming for their mother as blood bubbled from his lips. The Comanche family he'd failed to save in Oklahoma Territory. The letter from his father disowning him when he left the army. Blackwood's smile as he'd offered her, like a piece of meat. "Because I've seen enough people die," he said finally. "Come with me or don't. Your choice." Without waiting for her answer, Logan mounted his horse and turned toward the western hills. If she was smart, she'd follow. If not, there was nothing more he could do. The soft pad of footsteps behind him was his only confirmation that she had chosen to live. 3 days into their journey, Logan learned her name was Kaya. She'd offered it grudgingly while they made camp in a sheltered canyon, the night wind howling above them like lost spirits. She didn't volunteer more, and he didn't press. They settled into an uneasy routine. Logan hunted and set up camp. Kaya gathered plants he couldn't identify and kept watch with senses sharper than his own. They rarely spoke, but the silence became less hostile with each passing day. On the 4th morning, Logan handed her his spare Colt revolver. 6 shots, he explained, demonstrating the loading mechanism. "Aim for the center of the body. Don't try for fancy shots." She held the weapon with surprising familiarity, checking the cylinder and balance before tucking it into her belt. "Not your first gun," Logan observed. Kaya's expression darkened. Lakota learned from enemies. By midday, they'd reached the foothills of the Bitterroot Range. Logan knew these mountains offered their best chance of evading Blackwood scouts. Few white men ventured this deep into the wilderness. The crack of a rifle shot shattered the silence. Logan's horse reared as bark exploded from a tree inches from his head. "Ride!" he shouted, spurring his mount forward as Kaya did the same. More shots followed as they galloped into a narrow ravine. Logan recognized the distinctive bark of Springfield rifles. Army issue. Blackwood had found them faster than expected. They dismounted in a cluster of boulders, taking cover as bullets ricocheted around them. Logan counted at least 5 shooters spread across the ridgeline above. "Stay here," he commanded, positioning his Winchester against a rock. His first shot caught a soldier in the shoulder, spinning him backward. The second found another's leg. Logan wasn't aiming to kill, not soldiers following orders, but he wouldn't let them take Kaya. A movement to his left caught his attention too late. A burly sergeant emerged from behind a boulder, rifle aimed at Logan's chest. Before he could fire, a pistol cracked. The sergeant's face registered surprise as he crumpled. A bullet hole centered in his forehead. Kaya lowered the smoking Colt, her expression unmoved. "5 shots left," she said. Logan nodded, newfound respect in his eyes. "We need to move before more arrive." As he turned, white-hot pain lanced through his shoulder. A final shot from the ridgeline had found its mark. Logan stumbled, blood soaking his shirt. Kaya was beside him instantly, helping him onto his horse. They rode hard until nightfall, the mountains swallowing them into their shadows. In a shallow cave, Kaya examined Logan's wound by firelight. The bullet had passed clean through his shoulder, missing bone but leaving a ragged hole that wouldn't stop bleeding. "Need medicine," she muttered, disappearing into the darkness. Logan drifted in and out of consciousness, memories blurring with reality. He was back in the war, carrying his brother's broken body across a Pennsylvania field. He was in his father's study, listening to the old man rage about honor and duty as he tore up Logan's letter of resignation. He was in Oklahoma Territory, watching helplessly as Blackwood ordered the execution of Comanche children. He was nowhere and everywhere, blood becoming a river that carried him away. A bitter taste on his tongue brought him back. Kaya held his head, forcing a dark liquid down his throat. The pain receded like an outgoing tide, replaced by numbing warmth. "Why did you leave the army?" she asked, applying a poultice to his shoulder. Logan's defenses were down, the medicine loosening his tongue. "Blackwood," he said thickly, "ordered us to slaughter a Comanche camp. Women, children, said they were hostiles." Her fingers paused briefly before continuing their work. "And you?" "I refused, tried to stop it." Logan closed his eyes against the memory. "Failed. Left after. Became bounty hunter. At least the men I killed deserve it." Kaya bound his shoulder with strips torn from her dress. "Sleep now. Fever coming." For 2 days, infection raged through Logan's body. Kaya worked tirelessly, changing poultices, forcing medicine down his throat, cooling his skin with damp cloths. In his fevered state, he spoke of things long buried: his brother's death, his parents' rejection when he abandoned his military career, the nightmares that followed him like shadows. When clarity finally returned, Logan found Kaya watching him from across the small fire. Something had changed in her gaze, not softness exactly, but a different kind of assessment. "You saved my life," he said, his voice rough from disuse. "You saved mine first," she replied simply. "Now we are equal." As his strength returned, Logan noticed Kaya had fortified their position, setting snares and warning systems around the cave's entrance. She'd been expecting trouble. "Blackwood won't stop looking," he said as they shared a meager meal of rabbit and wild onions. "No," she agreed. "He fears what I know." Logan's brow furrowed. "What do you mean?" Kaya hesitated, then spoke. "I saw Blackwood meeting with Reed before my capture. They trade guns, army rifles to my people, then blame attacks on us." "Why would Blackwood arm Lakota?" Logan asked, confusion evident. "More fighting means more soldiers, more land taken, more glory." Her gaze burned with contained fury. "And Reed sells guns to both sides." The pieces clicked together in Logan's mind. Blackwood was fueling the conflict, ensuring his own rise through the ranks, while Reed profited from the bloodshed. It was an elegant, terrible plan. There's more, Kaya continued. They plan attack on my village, gold found in our sacred hills. Logan sat up straighter, ignoring the pain in his shoulder. When? Next full moon. 6 days. 6 days to stop a massacre. Impossible odds against trained soldiers. Yet looking at Kaya's resolute face, Logan knew he had already made his choice. I know where Reed keeps his weapons, he said slowly. If we destroy his supply. Kaya's eyes met his, a plan forming between them. For the first time since they'd met, she smiled, a fierce, predatory expression that transformed her face. Then we hunt, she said. Reed's camp sprawled across a valley clearing, 24 men guarding wagons loaded with wooden crates. Logan and Kaya lay on their bellies atop a ridge, studying the operation below. Too many guards, Kaya whispered. Logan pointed to a wagon positioned near the tree line. Dynamite, they use it for mining. One good shot. They waited until midnight, when clouds obscured the moon and the camp grew quiet. Most of Reed's men had gathered around campfires, passing bottles and playing cards. 2 guards patrolled the wagons, their movements predictable. Kaya moved first, silent as a shadow. Logan watched through his scope as she crept between wagons, invisible in her dark clothing. He held his breath when she froze, a guard passing within inches of her position. When she reached the dynamite wagon, she worked quickly, positioning the explosives among the weapon crates before retreating to the tree line. Logan chambered around, exhaled slowly, and squeezed the trigger. The dynamite wagon erupted in a blinding flash, the explosion echoing across the valley. Secondary blasts followed as ammunition crates caught fire, sending Reed's men scrambling for cover. In the chaos, Logan spotted a familiar figure emerging from a tent. Lieutenant Blackwood, half-dressed and furious. So Kaya had been right about their alliance. Time to go, Logan muttered, sliding backward from his position. They had nearly reached their horses when shouting erupted behind them. 5 of Reed's men had picked up their trail and were closing fast. Logan took position behind a fallen log, his Winchester finding the first pursuer. The man dropped without a sound. The second and third fell in quick succession, Logan's aim unerring even in the darkness. The fourth man was smarter, using trees for cover as he advanced. Logan waited, rifle steady, until the man made his mistake. 1 second of exposure as he changed position. It was enough. A twig snapped behind him. Logan whirled to find Blackwood leveling a pistol at his head, eyes gleaming with triumph. Traitor, the lieutenant spat. I knew you couldn't be trusted with that savage bitch. Logan's rifle was empty, his pistol out of reach. Blackwood's finger tightened on the trigger. A whisper of movement was the only warning before a knife embedded itself in Blackwood's forearm. The lieutenant howled, his shot going wild as Kaya materialized from the shadows, a second blade already in hand. Blackwood staggered backward, clutching his bleeding arm. You're both dead, he snarled. The entire territory will hunt you down. Before either could respond, war cries split the night. A dozen mounted warriors emerged from the forest, arrows nocked and rifles raised. Their faces were painted for battle, feathers adorning their braided hair. Kaya stepped forward, speaking rapidly in Lakota. One warrior, younger than the rest but bearing the marks of leadership, dismounted and approached her. The family resemblance was unmistakable. The same high cheekbones, the same penetrating gaze. My brother, Kaya explained to Logan. They've been searching for me. The young chief regarded Logan with undisguised hostility, speaking sharply to Kaya while gesturing at Logan's bloody weapons. He says I should let them kill you, Kaya translated. All white men are enemies now. Logan met the chief's gaze steadily. Tell him I understand his anger, but also tell him about Blackwood and Reed's plan to attack your village. As Kaya spoke, her brother's expression shifted from hatred to grim calculation. After a long moment, he issued commands to his warriors. 2 dismounted to bind Blackwood, while others secured the perimeter. You will come with us, Kaya told Logan. My brother wishes to hear more about this attack. Logan hesitated. Entering a Lakota camp voluntarily was tantamount to suicide for a white man in the current climate, yet refusal meant abandoning Kaya in any chance of preventing the massacre. I'll come, he said finally, but I keep my weapons. Kaya relayed his terms. Her brother scowled but eventually nodded. As dawn broke over the mountains, Logan rode among his former enemies, a prisoner and ally both. Beside him, Kaya sat straighter, her features softening as they approached her homeland. For the first time since Gettysburg, Logan felt the weight of purpose replacing the burden of guilt. Whatever awaited him in the Lakota camp, he had chosen his path. The Lakota village spread across a sheltered valley, teepees arranged in traditional circles. Women paused in their work to stare at the returning warriors. Children stopped their play, pointing at the white man who rode among their protectors. Logan felt their eyes like physical weight. To them, he represented everything that threatened their existence: the broken treaties, the advancing settlements, the soldiers who pushed them from their ancestral lands. In the center of camp, Kaya's brother, who Logan learned was called Running Wolf, ordered Blackwood tied to a sturdy post. The lieutenant glared with undisguised hatred as the tribal elders gathered for counsel. The meeting was brief but intense. Logan spoke plainly, explaining the conspiracy between Blackwood and Reed, the planned attack on the village, and the discovery of gold in the sacred hills. Running Wolf translated his words, heated discussion following each revelation. Blackwood wants war, Logan concluded. More fighting means more soldiers, more land seized. I've seen him massacre innocent people before and call them hostiles. An elder with a deeply lined face addressed Logan directly in broken English. Why would you betray your own kind for us? The lodge fell silent, waiting for his answer. Logan felt Kaya's eyes on him, her expression unreadable. I fought in a war where men killed their own brothers over ideals, he said finally. I watched good men die for causes they barely understood. There's no honor in slaughtering people for land or gold. Blackwood doesn't represent my kind. He represents only greed and cruelty. His words seemed to satisfy the elder, who nodded slowly before speaking to Running Wolf. The chief listened intently, then dismissed the council with a gesture. Outside, Kaya approached Logan as dusk fell over the camp. The council has decided to move north. Too dangerous to stay. And Blackwood? Logan asked. Her expression turned cold. Justice will be done. Logan knew what that meant. He couldn't blame them. But the thought of Blackwood's execution left him uneasy. Not out of sympathy for the man, but because killing him would only reinforce the army's view of the Lakota as savages. And what about you? Kaya asked. You may leave if you wish. My brother has granted safe passage. Logan studied her face in the fading light. Something had changed between them in the days since Crossfire Creek. A trust built not through words but through actions. I'll stay, he said. Help prepare your people for what's coming. For the next 2 days, Logan worked alongside the Lakota warriors, teaching them military tactics and weaknesses. They were already formidable fighters, but facing a coordinated assault with rifles required new strategies. On the evening before their planned departure north, a scout burst into camp, speaking rapidly in Lakota. Running Wolf's expression turned grim as he issued commands that sent the village into frenzied activity. What's happening? Logan asked Kaya. Soldiers coming. Many. At dawn. Her eyes flashed with worry. Blackwood's second-in-command, Major Ellis, leads them. Logan cursed. Ellis was Blackwood's protege, just as ruthless but twice as ambitious. With Blackwood missing, he would seize the opportunity to make his name by crushing a Lakota village. There's no time to evacuate everyone, Logan said, assessing the situation quickly. But we can delay them. Give the women and children time to escape north. Running Wolf agreed to Logan's plan. They would split their forces, half hidden in the hills above the valley approach, half behind the river bend. A perfect crossfire. As dawn broke, Logan positioned himself on a rocky outcrop overlooking the valley entrance. Kaya beside him with her bow ready. "You should be with your people," Logan said quietly. Kaya's jaw set in a stubborn line. "I am with my people. All who fight Ellis are my people now." The first rays of sun glinted off rifle barrels as the cavalry column emerged from the forest. Logan counted nearly 50 men, too many for the Lakota warriors to defeat, but enough to delay. The ambush worked perfectly. Warriors hidden in the hills opened fire as the column entered the narrow pass, while others attacked from the river. Soldiers fell from their horses, the disciplined line dissolving into chaos. Logan's Winchester found its targets with methodical precision. Officers, the men manning the Gatling gun, soldiers taking aim at the hillside warriors. He wasn't aiming to kill when he could help it, but he knew some would not survive. Through his scope, he spotted Major Ellis at the rear, shouting orders as his men regrouped. The officer's face twisted with rage as he recognized the military tactics being used against him. "There!" Kaya hissed, pointing to a rider breaking away from the main force, a civilian heading back toward Crossfire Creek. "Reed," Logan confirmed, recognizing the weapons dealer. "Going for reinforcements." The battle intensified as Ellis's men pushed forward despite heavy losses. The warriors' ammunition was limited, their position increasingly vulnerable. "We've bought enough time," Logan told Kaya. "The evacuation should be complete." As they retreated through the forest, explosions rocked the valley behind them. The Lakota had set charges in their abandoned village, a final surprise for Ellis's forces. They regrouped at a hidden canyon where the tribe had gathered. Running Wolf had lost 8 warriors, with more wounded, but the women, children, and elders were safe. The tribe would continue north toward their Lakota allies in Canada, beyond Ellis's reach. But Logan knew his path led elsewhere. "Reed will have reached Crossfire Creek by now," he told Running Wolf and Kaya. "He'll bring more men, spread lies about what happened here." "Then we are hunted," Running Wolf said grimly. "Not if someone exposes Ellis and Reed first," Logan countered. "I have evidence of Blackwood's previous massacres, documents I kept as insurance. With the weapons operation destroyed and this attack failing, the right pressure could bring them down." Kaya studied him intently. "You mean to return to the white man's town?" "Someone has to end this cycle," Logan said, "or more people die on both sides." Running Wolf shook his head. "They will kill you." "Probably," Logan agreed, "but it's my fight now, too." That night, as the tribe prepared to move north, Logan saddled his horse under starlight. He wasn't surprised when Kaya approached, dressed for travel. "You're not coming with me," he said firmly. "My brother leads our people to safety," she replied. "I choose my own path." "Crossfire Creek will be dangerous for you." Her smile was sharp as a knife edge. "I survived Blackwood, and you need someone to watch your back." Logan knew better than to argue. Truth be told, he was grateful for her company, not that he'd admit it aloud. As dawn broke over the mountains, 2 riders headed south, a bounty hunter and a Lakota healer, bound by purpose stronger than blood. Crossfire Creek had changed. Army patrols roamed the streets, questioning strangers and posting notices about hostile Lakota raids. Reed had wasted no time spreading his version of events. Logan and Kaya entered town separately. With her hair hidden beneath a hat and wearing borrowed men's clothing, Kaya slipped into the crowded saloon unnoticed. Logan approached the sheriff's office directly, hoping Thornton's sense of justice remained intact. The old lawman's eyes widened at Logan's appearance. "Hawkins, where the hell have you been? Major Ellis has half the territory looking for you." Logan closed the office door. "We need to talk, Sheriff, about Blackwood, Ellis, Reed, and a conspiracy that's going to get a lot of people killed." For the next hour, Logan laid out everything. The weapons trading, the golden Lakota territory, the manufactured conflict. Thornton listened silently, his weathered face giving nothing away. "That's a serious accusation against Army officers," he said finally. "You got proof?" Logan produced a journal from his saddlebag. Names, dates, locations of previous massacres Blackwood ordered. "I kept records during my scouting days." Thornton flipped through the pages, his expression darkening with each turn. "Jesus, Mary, and Joseph," he muttered. "If this is true—" "It's true," Logan confirmed. "And there's a federal inspector due through here next week. Wallace. He needs to see this evidence." A commotion outside interrupted him. Men's voices raised in anger, heavy boots on wooden boardwalks. The door burst open to reveal Reed flanked by 4 armed men, his shoulder bandaged where Kaya's arrow had struck. "There he is!" Reed shouted, his face flushed with rage. "The Indian lover who betrayed his own kind." Logan's hand moved to his pistol, but Thornton stepped between them. "Now hold on, Reed. This is still my office." "That man aided a Sioux attack on Army personnel." Reed's voice rose to a shout. "Major Ellis barely escaped with his life." "That's not what happened," Logan began, but Reed's men had already drawn their weapons. Gunfire erupted, splinters flying as bullets tore through the office. Logan dove behind the desk, pulling Thornton down with him, but the old sheriff caught a round in the chest. He slumped against Logan, blood soaking his vest. "Run!" the sheriff gasped. "Wallace arrives Tuesday. Tell him everything." His eyes fixed on something Logan couldn't see, then grew still. More shots shredded the desk. Logan fired back, his revolver finding one of Reed's men, but he was outnumbered and cornered. A window shattered from outside, and suddenly Reed howled in pain, an arrow protruding from his remaining good shoulder. Kaya. Using the distraction, Logan fired again, dropping another attacker. The remaining men dragged Reed outside, retreating under Kaya's continued fire from the alley. Logan checked Thornton's pulse. Nothing. Another good man dead. He grabbed the journal and slipped out the back door, finding Kaya waiting with the horses. "Reed will bring more men," she warned. "We must go." "Not yet," Logan said grimly. "Ellis needs to answer for this." They rode hard for the Army outpost where Ellis would be celebrating his victory against the hostile Lakota. Night had fallen by the time they spotted the camp's fires glowing in the distance. "This is suicide," Kaya observed, though she made no move to leave. "Probably," Logan agreed. "But sometimes a man has to finish what he starts." They left their horses in a protected gully and approached on foot. The outpost was well guarded but poorly designed. Logan had helped establish it years earlier and knew its weaknesses. Under cover of darkness, they slipped past sentries and located Ellis's quarters. The major was alone, writing reports by lamplight, a glass of whiskey at his elbow. He looked up as Logan stepped into the light, Kaya a shadow behind him. "Hawkins," Ellis said, surprisingly calm. "I wondered when you'd appear." "It's over," Logan told him. "Reed's operation is exposed. Sheriff Thornton saw the evidence before he died." "Before you got him killed," Ellis corrected, rising slowly. "Rather convenient. Eliminating the witness who could confirm you showed him anything." The major moved toward his desk. "What exactly is your plan here, Hawkins? Kill me? That just confirms your guilt. The story's already written. You've gone native, betrayed your country, assisted in attacks against soldiers." "Federal Inspector Wallace arrives Tuesday," Logan said. "He'll hear the truth." Ellis laughed, the sound devoid of humor. "Assuming you live that long." His hand moved to a drawer. "This territory needs men like Blackwood and me. Men willing to do what's necessary to tame the wilderness and its savages." "Men like you only bring more bloodshed," Logan countered. "How many innocent people have to die for your ambition?" "Sacrifices for progress," Ellis said dismissively. History won't remember their names, only that civilization advanced. Colonel Harrison in Washington understands this. When I report to him, there will be a dozen more like me sent to finish what Blackwood started. His drawer opened, revealing a hidden pistol. Ellis lunged for the weapon. Logan fired first, his bullet catching Ellis in the chest. The major staggered backward, shock registering on his face as he collapsed against the wall. "You're a dead man," he gasped, blood bubbling at his lips. "Harrison, we'll send more. The gold must be secured." "Then I'll be waiting," Logan replied. As Ellis's life ebbed away, alarm bells began ringing throughout the camp. Their time had run out. Logan grabbed the journal, Ellis's papers, and the letters from Colonel Harrison before following Kaya through the window. They ran through darkness as shouts and gunfire erupted behind them. By dawn, they had put miles between themselves and the outpost, riding west toward the territorial border. Neither spoke of what came next. Too many possibilities, too many uncertainties. They stopped at a high ridge overlooking a vast valley. In the distance, mountains rose like jagged teeth against the sky, unexplored territory where few white men had ventured. "What now?" Kaya asked finally. Logan removed his hat, letting the morning breeze cool his face. "Wallace arrives Tuesday. I left copies of the evidence with Thornton's deputy and instructions to meet Wallace's stage. With Ellis's papers and Harrison's letters, there's enough to start a federal investigation." "And us?" The question contained worlds of possibility. Logan studied her in the sunrise light. The proud features, the eyes that had seen too much death, the quiet strength that had matched his own. "I could take you north," he offered. "Help you find your people in Canada." Kaya turned her gaze to the distant mountains, then to the plains behind them. After a long moment, she handed him the reins to her horse. "Your world or mine," she said. "Your choice." Logan understood what she was offering, trust complete enough to follow his decision. After a lifetime of solitude, the weight of such trust was both terrifying and precious. He handed the reins back to her. "Maybe neither. Maybe we find our own path." Her smile was genuine, transforming her face. "The territory is large," she agreed, "and full of men like Ellis and Reed." Logan added grimly, "Men who will follow Harrison's orders." "Then we will be busy." Kaya gathered her reins, her decision made. "Where do we begin?" Logan pointed toward the western horizon. "Oregon Territory. New settlements, new problems. People who might need our particular skills." 6 months later, Federal Marshal James Wallace arrived in Oregon with papers in hand. The investigation into Colonel Harrison's gold-grabbing scheme had resulted in multiple arrests and the establishment of a protected Lakota territory. He'd been tracking Logan and Kaya since Montana, following reports of a bounty hunter and his Lakota partner who had developed a reputation for helping those caught between corrupt officials and lawless opportunists. The marshal found them in a small settlement near the Columbia River, where they'd just exposed a land-grabbing scheme targeting local farmers. "The government offers you both a pardon," Wallace told them, "and a proposal. There are more Harrisons out there, more Ellises and Blackwoods. We need people who can move between worlds." As the sun set over the mountains, Logan and Kaya considered the marshal's offer. The path ahead would never be easy, but for the first time in years, it had purpose. Behind them, dust settled on the past. Ahead, the future stretched wide and unknown. "There's a lot of land out there," Logan observed. Kaya nodded, her eyes scanning the horizon. "And many battles still to fight." "Then we better keep riding," he said. And they did.